Okay, number 5, the last thing, how to draw an eye. So this is the last of the facial features for drawing the portrait. Okay, so now when you look at the drawing the eye, it's kind of like on the lips or on the nose, or any of the facial features really. It's always going to vary according to your reference, but just to give you an idea of some of the styles of eyes that you may want to think about drawing, or that you're going to encounter. One may be something like this, where you just have a little bit of like a sliver of the iris showing, right, with the eyebrow maybe, kind of coming in real low, hardly anything happening on there. Again, it's those what I refer to like is the Clint Eastwood eyes, right? And then you have the eyes that will open up a little bit more. Where the top eyelid and the bottom eyelid are pretty much covering the majority of the about 80% of the about 20% of the eye, and then you've got this little wrinkle here that is caused by the all the tear ducts there. And again, this wrinkle here is caused by the all of this. Remember when you're drawing the skull, the eye socket. There's the eye is just a ball that sits in it. Again, if we look at the profile of that eye socket, right, and the skull, this being the skull, and then you have this eyeball. Actually sits right in there like that, right? And so this is where you're going to have your eyebrow, right? And then your eyelid, and this little indentation right there, this little indentation right there is what this is right there, right? That little indentation, and then you've got there's the eyelid, top and bottom eyelid, right? Okay, so that's kind of a little diagram of how that eyeball sits inside that eye socket. So as we're drawing the eye, the other thing that you want to remember is the that magic white dot that gives the iris and the entire eye kind of that glossy wet look. So that's something that you always want to. I'll be switching back and forth with my pencils, but basically what I like to use is a 4B somewhere, which is equivalent to the ebony pencil, just for blocking things out. But again, here this on like a Clint Eastwood eye, a kind of one that opens up a little bit more. Normally you don't have a lot of eyelids, right? I mean eyelashes showing. So here's shadow area in here, right? And then you're going to have your iris. Your iris. And then you're going to have So let me make this a little bit larger so that you can see what I'm doing here. So you're gonna have your eye, right? The iris, a little magic white reflective dot, the pupil, and then when you look at the eye, this is the area that you want to pay attention to, is this white area that's on each side of the iris. How much of that is actually showing, right? Because all this other stuff, like I told you, it's round, so this bottom part's going to be in shadow, this corner is going to be in shadow, and this is going to be in shadow from the eyelid, right? So the only area that's going to be receiving lots of light is going to be this center part of the iris, because the top and the bottom will be in a little bit of a shadow, the top being in more of the shadow. But in here on each side, it's going to be the lightest. So if you can kind of do a miniature version of that outline of that eye, that area is going to receive the most light. So when you get into this area in here, between the top eyelid and that center area that I'm talking about, that's going to be the whitest, that's where you want to do a little bit of a gradation, right? That's going to have a little bit of a gradation there. And then also in here, when you get into this, drawing the iris, right? I like to use my mechanical pencil for drawing the texture that you see in the iris, kind of radiating light lines like that. And then normally the edge of that iris is also going to be the darker, right? The lightest edge is going to be right in this area right in here. So we've got our magic white dot, and sometimes you may do more than one, right? You got your pupil. You got your shadow from your I want to do an entire eye. I'm just kind of showing you the important areas of drawing the eye, and then I'm going to do another video where I'm just going to draw an eye, because again, I got to limit the size of my videos here. All right. So yeah, so you continue to do a few of those kind of in the background now. I did some darker ones. Now I'm doing some that are a little bit lighter lines that kind of developing that texture, right? Here's a good place to use your little shield that we talked about, or that I showed you when we were actually in class. Right. So those are the important highlight of drawing the eye, and information that I want to get to. So on the next video, I'm going to just do a drawing of an eye. Okay.